We've seen the Broncos Stadium change a bit over the outside over the years, especially with the name change. This Monday, when the 49ers play in the first home preseason game, there's something new on the inside. The north stairwell at the stadium has a new addition. So what's the big deal? That's where a fan died after falling 60 feet back in 2016. Our Marshall Zellinger looks into why it's taken this long to make a change.
The north stairwell at Mile High Stadium between gates 4 and 5 is a direct way out of the stadium without having to do the switchbacks on the ramps. In October 2016, a Broncos fan who had been drinking went over the railing inside the north stairwell and fell 60 feet and died. These silver grates were not there in 2016. The space between the railing and the wall was open. The fan's family sued the Broncos, the owners of the stadium, which means metro area taxpayers, and they sued the company that manages the stadium. That lawsuit was settled out of court in February. In the 2.5 seasons since that accident, the gap between the railing and the wall remained open, no grates. The city even told us that it was up to code without grates. Now, before the first home game of the 2019 preseason, the stadium has added protections. If it's up to code and it was good enough for 2.5 seasons after the fall, why now? The stadium management company provided next a statement that reads, "Although the stadium met all building code safety requirements, we recently installed metal gratings in 2 north stairwells as an additional safety enhancement. It was out of an abundance of caution." The family of the man who fell did not want to talk with me about the additions to the stadium. The settlement is private, so neither her attorney nor the stadium management would tell me if this was part of the settlement. But the stadium manager did tell me the stadium was not required to do this. And Jeremy, I talked with 9 News legal analyst Scott Robinson about this. He says as an attorney, he might have made the same recommendation to not make changes until the court case is done. That's not saying there's any guilt there, but don't do anything necessarily that could come back into the court case.
Sounds like they were protecting their interests, which makes sense. Thanks, Marshall. A grassroots organization is challenging a state Supreme Court ruling that does not allow officials to ban fracking within the city of Longmont. Colorado Rising filed a motion today to reopen the case. It hopes to lift this court filing so fracking can be stopped there. Voters in Longmont approved the fracking ban in 2012. The oil and gas industry immediately sued. 2 years later, the state court in Boulder said officials did not have the authority to enact it. The state Supreme Court upheld that ruling, saying only the state could regulate the industry. The new law just passed by the state legislature gives local governments more control over oil and gas development. So Colorado Rising is asking the courts to step off. The city of Longmont has not taken an official position on this yet. It says city councilors still need to review this new effort with its legal team. A new poll shows most Colorado voters would allow the state to keep surplus tax revenue that it currently has to refund taxpayers. Republican-leaning Magellan Strategies, a firm based in Louisville, asked 500 supporters if they support Proposition CC. That is the ballot measure that would let the state keep the excess funds for transportation in schools instead of refunding people as required by the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. 54% of those surveyed said they support that. 30% said they would vote no on the measure. 15% were not sure. Democrats and unaffiliated voters were the strongest supporters of that. On Next yesterday, we met two teens who have climbed all of Colorado's 58 14ers. After the segment, some of you said there are only 54. So where did those last 4 come from? The number of 14ers in Colorado is debatable. The state tourism office recognizes the 58 peaks in Colorado that are above 14,000 feet. Those are the peaks that Connor Hodes and Hunter Goldschmidt just finished climbing. If you ask the experts with the Colorado Mountain Club and the Colorado 14ers Initiative, they say many other climbers follow mountaineer rules. That means the peak needs to be named by the U.S. Geological Survey, and it must be 300 feet above the saddle that connects it to another peak.
And so there are 53 that meet all the criteria. I oftentimes just say more than 50 peaks and let people choose which definition they want to use. In the end, you know, it doesn't really matter, and it's going to be evolving over time because there's an effort to resurvey all of the mountains using gravitational techniques.
So 53, 54, 58, all of those numbers work. It just really depends on your opinion. So the other day, I came across something I had no idea was happening. Over the past 5 years, the city of Denver and this historical group have been surveying neighborhoods all over the city. The goal is to track the history of buildings, including your house. The project is called Discover Denver. They've cataloged 19,000 historic spots since they started. So today we're getting a little random Colorado history from someone whose job it is to find history in your neighborhood.
I'll be a building geek here and say that every building does have a story to tell. Even those that don't look like, they're fancy or anything like that, really, we find surprising things in them. I'd say this building is one of those. Right? It's a great apartment building, and what we learned as we were researching the history of the building is that it actually started out as two separate homes, and it was built those two homes were built probably around 1900. The architectural style, and I think how masterfully that those two buildings were combined, right? It really is seamless, and it took us historic documents. We looked at historic maps and old photos to really piece together its story. One of my favorites is up in the Elyria neighborhood. Right? It was a tiny little church. That congregation has been there for 130 years. It actually started out in a tent across the street from a smelter. We have so many new folks coming to the city that really don't know anything about the city's history. And I think that through our project, we really get to shine a light maybe on the city's history and on the history of some of those neighborhoods and independent buildings.
Cool. That last shot there is an old business building built in 1890. It's still there at the corner of First and Broadway. You never know what's around you. You can submit your own building's history to the website. We have a link to that website on the next section of 9news.com. Discover Denver needs some volunteers for this survey. If history is your jam, check out their website. There's some really cool stuff in there. In a school district made up of 85% students of color, the Gifted and Talented program did not reflect that.
For the district, we were about 21% overrepresented white.
So Aurora Public Schools is changing how kids get tested.
We work with these students every day. We know their names. We just had to correct this.
And did you see those massive clouds this week over Denver? Really amazing stuff. We get all science-y about what's going on up there. Next. Oh yeah, we just did that. As kids head back to school, here's something really important for you to hear. Your child's public school does test kids to see if they're gifted and talented, but often that testing only happens if a teacher recommends your child. Lori Lizarraga is here. Lori, the way this has been set up for years, it sounds like what you're about to report, a lot of kids have been left out of this testing.
Well, it's called the Cognitive Abilities Test, COGAT, and with the teacher's referral, it's used nationwide to identify students. Aurora Public Schools saw that as a problem when they started looking at the numbers, because in a school district that's more than half Hispanic, well, the Gifted and Talented program didn't reflect that. So the district decided to make a change. As a parent, you know your kid is special, but if your child really is gifted and talented in the classroom, it's up to teachers to see that.
And we found that there were a large percentage of students that were just slipping through the cracks because teachers didn't think to nominate them.
Slipping through the cracks. That's what was happening to students in the Aurora Public School District.
And we knew that there were gifted students out there, and we were not able to identify them using the process that we had. And teachers were frustrated, and we were frustrated.
Carol
So we
Dallas
felt
is the
like
district's
at that
gifted
point,
education
we had
coordinator.
Alexis.
And she was concerned because in a district that's 15% white, 54% Hispanic, the gifted education program was mostly white.
We work with these students every day. We know their names. We just had to correct this.
Instead of waiting on teachers to recommend students for testing, Aurora Public Schools tested every student at 10 pilot schools using a localized test. The results shocked even Carol.
I was not expecting this equity shift. I thought there'd be something, but not this dramatic.
Representation across every race changed significantly.
Black representation increased by 9 percentage points, Hispanic increased by 8, and Asian overrepresentation was reduced by 5 percentage points. So it was significant.
The pilot program revealed a lot of change, and not just in race representation. The new numbers include more girls, more immigrants, more English language learners, and more free and reduced lunch students.
We're finding those kids a place, and that's really who they are. And once kids find that, and you program for that, they soar. It's amazing.
Carol Dallas went to the Board of Education and district leadership. She asked for 10 more schools to continue testing the pilot program in. So the pilot program is now in 20 schools starting this semester in the Aurora Public School District. And if those same kind of changes happen again, Carol says she'll be recommending that the changes go district-wide.
It's really fascinating to see how much change there was. And it really makes you wonder how many kids over the years just missed out on this testing.
Absolutely. And for every one Aurora Public School District who is making a change and going above and beyond to actually see the difference, it's probably dozens and dozens of schools who aren't. And that's significant.
Good job. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Another beautiful summer day in Denver. Lots of sunshine today up and down the Front Range across the Continental Divide with temperatures in the low 90s. So right about what you'd expect for this time of year. A whole different story for our neighbors off to the east. This blue area is a severe thunderstorm watch, and now storms showing signs of rotation. A tornado warned a storm. 4 radar indicated rotation. This cell is near Bonnie Reservoir tracking southeast, and Kirk is the town that we're kind of watching for as this tornado warning is extended out until 6:30. A couple of severe cells right in and around Ray and Burlington as well, producing 1 to 2 inch diameter hail. They will be out of the state here within the hour. But there is enough available moisture that we could see these storms refire east of Akron and Lyman, and there's still the chance that 1 or 2 could form here in Denver. But the forecast modeling has all of the activity east of Sterling and to the west of the Kit Carson area. Skies will clear tonight, and tomorrow a pattern shift means a calmer day, not just for Denver, but the whole state. Tonight, an isolated storm still possible, low 61 with partly cloudy skies. 92 tomorrow, sunshine, slight chance of a storm. Temperatures increase as we move through the second half of the weekend. 20 to 30% chance of storms on Friday and Saturday, and keep those beautiful mammatus clouds coming. It's like a work of art from Sarah Mark.
Our next question comes from a few different people who spotted this same cloud that could be seen for miles across the Denver area. Carol, Troy, Jennifer, Nick, they are just a few viewers who were stunned by the clouds in the sky during the sunset Monday night. Even more viewers saw a similar looking cloud Tuesday night in the metro area. They all want to know, what kind of cloud is this? Meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen explains with the help of the National Weather Service.
These clouds, captured by 9 News viewers on back-to-back nights, are called cumulonimbus clouds, also known as thunderstorms. They were in the decaying or dying phase when they really got interesting, and everybody in the metro got a front row seat, especially Monday night.
You could probably see it from 80 to 90 miles in any direction.
When a thunderstorm is collapsing, the ice crystals, snow, and graupel at the very top of the cloud starts to fall and evaporate.
Almost always evaporates before it reaches the ground, and that's why it kind of leaves a little wispy trail, and then it's kind of gone before it reaches the ground.
And that's not the only fascinating structure to this sky candy. Check out those fluffy, pillowy bubbles.
When the air hits the top of the atmosphere, where we have our weather, it spreads out in what we call an anvil cloud. When that's strong enough, sometimes the sinking air in that anvil cloud on the underneath side makes those little bubbles that we call mammatus.
But when it comes to what caused those mammatus clouds that were so expertly captured by front-range smartphones, that's still up for debate.
And the interesting thing about mammatus clouds is that the researchers, the people that study these things, there's conflicting theories on how those clouds actually form.
What we know for sure is it needs pretty strong convection to create that anvil, and it has something to do with sinking precipitation, likely the right kind of graupel mixed with just the right mix of temperatures and turbulence. And this has all been happening right at sunset. Well played, Mother Nature.
Once that lights up with the orange and the pinks, it's unbelievable. It's some of the best things I've seen in Colorado.
I'm meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen for Next.
Yeah, it was quite a show last night. Mammatus clouds are often associated with bad weather, but yesterday's storm was not severe. So good news, if you see mammatus clouds, it's a sign the storm has passed because they usually form on the backside. With little friends and little family, nobody was expected to show up to a man's funeral.
No matter what small event they played in their military life, they all should have this.
One group is making sure he isn't alone. Next. This week we heard about an upcoming funeral for a man who had little friends and family. He was recently homeless and nobody was expected to show up. The Vietnam Veterans of America got word about this, and photojournalist Brian Wendland went to the Fort Logan National Cemetery.
Funerals aren't a very happy time, but you want to be able to make sure that everything is done right as to the best of your ability. We'll do that in the two lines. That's what we're going to do. We're here today to show a presence of veterans, and mostly we're from the Vietnam Veterans of America. Amen. So Lord it be. Our motto is, never again shall one generation of veterans abandon another. All right, let's go.
Hi, my name is Michael Gonzalez. I'm here for Michael Mongaluso's funeral.
These are the veterans from where he was living.
So I met him through the VA. He's been through a lot.
Salute. This was a veteran who wanted a better life for himself, wanted to get off the streets, went through the programs, and was accepted in veterans housing through the city of Lakewood.
He was rigid, had his own set of disciplines, went to bed before 10 o'clock at night, got up early in the morning. Didn't have a whole lot of friends, but had some, and we talked a lot about God. This is great. The support here is fantastic.
I probably attend at least 6 to 10 funerals a year down here. They deserve as much as we can give them, you know, even before they die or after they die. No matter what small event they played in their military life, they all should have this.
That's my neighborhood. Lots of comments about the clouds tonight. Carol Miller says, gotta love Colorado skies. I do too. I know you do too. See you next time. Thanks for watching.